Thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. Just a couple of short words. You know, things like this can't happen without people behind the scenes and organizations behind the scenes working to help bring it to fruition. My job today is just to say really thank you very, very much to all the partners and all the sponsors that have worked hard to bring this together. You know, this is the first, this is the inaugural, this is just the beginning of what we hope to expand on to have something really special continuing here in the Tampa Bay area. You know, Tampa Bay's got a lot to offer. You know, we have technology growing opportunities here. We could very easily fit on the global market and competition, and we hope that this organization, in fact, we know that this event will help to put us on that field and make us recognizable on the worldwide market. We appreciate all of you being here. Hillsborough County is a wonderful place. For those that are our guests that have flown in or driven in or have cruised in to our market, we hope that you spend some time and enjoy what we have to offer here in Tampa Bay. Again, Vinny, dude, man, thank you so much for your efforts. You are absolutely an exceptional guy. You come up with an idea, you work it until you follow it through. This has been a dream of yours for several years. I've heard you talk about it, and now here it is. Thank you, Vinny.
I want to thank our strategic partners, again, EDI2, the publicity agency, Shafino Lee. I think they've arrived. Thank you so much. Like I said, this is a brand that will last for a long time with the Gasparilla Interactive Festival, and I think it's that long-term vision that allows this to really be a stepping point and a genesis of something great for Tampa and for this market and for the region. And thank you for Shafino Lee. The publicity agency, Glenn Selig, I don't know if they're still here or not, him and Tyler, but we've gotten some great media exposure in our first year with this event. We've gotten just a lot of angles that we want to work with our founders, especially going forward. That Founders Club, we've got 30 of you. And for a first-time event, that's an amazing accomplishment for a private group like that to come and really not only match the EDI2 funding that we got, but surpass that funding and really make this a public-private sponsored event so that we have the grassroots effort of the community to build this going forward. Without the founders, we would not be here today at all. And then, again, Port Tampa Bay for giving us the venue today. We've gotten some great feedback on the venue, also on the fact that it's not too cold in here, which a lot of conferences have that below sub-zero temperature to it. And then ConnectWise, our stage sponsor. I want to thank you guys for stepping up. Was a surprise. Was not something we were going after our first year to get a major sponsor, but to have one has been a credit to the team and to the effort that we put behind all of this. And I want to thank you, Hal. There you go. Thank you very much for being part of this. And again, all of our founders, there's too many to name. They're almost all of them made the t-shirt. So they're listed there. And I do hope to, throughout the year, use this as a once-a-year major event, but a way to really highlight our technology community, our innovative community, on an ongoing basis so that we're having dialogue and becoming an umbrella that can highlight what's going on in the market. And I really want to talk with all of our founders as we go forward. And how do we position the talents we have here, the businesses we have here to grow this market, grow this event, and grow your businesses as well. So with that, I'm going to bring up Joanna.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I actually have really appreciated the entire day's conversation. I'm fortunate enough to kind of speak around the nation, the globe, on a lot of things that I love, like growth and marketing and brand. And a lot of the shows are very like single track. They're very one note. They're very expected content. And this has been a day of a variety of conversations, from like local ecosystems to innovation to AI. Artificial intuition, which is something I'm just going to go explore and learn more about. So it's a high caliber of conversation, and I kind of love that. I'm actually really glad that I'm here to talk about kind of the ideas of habits of a growth company. I think from what I can understand from where your ecosystem is right here in Tampa right now, it's something that might be relevant and hopefully something you can take with you and start to think about after this today. So I'm Joanna Loard. I'm the VP of Growth at a company called, VP of Marketing and Growth at a company called Porch. Has anyone heard of us? Couple people. Nice, we're making our way, I like it. We're located up in Seattle, Washington. It's my 7th startup, 4 failures, no, 4 successes, 2 failures, and this one's going pretty well. So I've had the opportunity to be in growth experiences, growth chapters, growth seasons. It's a pretty crazy word these days, much like many of the words we're using today. It's very loaded, so we'll talk about what it means. But yeah, I'm going to be using a lot of Porch examples because we are in the tornado. I am in this right now, freaking out on a daily basis, thinking about all the ways that we can grow in a natural curve, and hopefully share some of those ideas with you today. So what is growth when we talk about it for our purpose of today? There's growth hacking, there's growth marketing, there's growth companies, revenue growth, growth styles, growth philosophies, all sorts of things, right? Heads of growth, VPs of growth. What I mean for today is the concept of an unnatural curve. So every single one of you, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are in academics, whether you are a consultant or working in a company, in management, non-management, you are tasked with the idea of growth. You are being asked to go from here to here, or from here to here. And there are a lot of ways to do that in a sustainable, scalable way. All of that is not what I'm going to talk about today. I actually want to focus on the habits you can have and the habits you can force and encourage in your teams that create unnatural growth curves. There are 3 strong assets to companies that have seen high growth seasons, and that comes down to amazing products, an amazing story, and an amazing community. I think even hearing today Samantha talk about her obsession with community, you're going to see that come through with me today when I start to flail my Italian hands. It is very much required. You can't miss one of these and have a high growth season. You can't have an okay product, but a great story and an awesome community. It won't work. All 3 need to be working together, and all 3 of them need to actually be rising in a very similar pattern. You will have times that one can carry the other 2, certainly in times of challenge, like you miss a great product launch, or you have a really bad story press situation where you're starting to do some online reputation management. So it can carry you, but the ones that see sustainable, unnatural curves, which is a real thing, happen to have all 3 grooving at the same time. Porch by the numbers, I don't put this up to brag, I put this up because it's something that's very unusual. In 16 months, we've been able to put up some very serious numbers. All the data that we have into our system between projects and professionals. We are a marketplace where homeowners can meet professionals. I can talk more about Porch later over a drink if you want to hear about it. But we have over 150,000 person community. We have over 1.5 million, now 2 million monthly visits. We have over 420 employees now, and we've raised over $100 million. We're 16 months old, valued at $500 million. And these are real things, real numbers that we said to ourselves, how do we get more projects in our system? How do we get more data on homes in the system? How do we get more homeowners to care about what we're doing? And we focused and mobilized our teams around these efforts, and I'll talk a lot about that today. So what is the number one thing I think growth companies have in common? They have created a rally point. This was an intentional thing they did. They jumped into a room, and before they got started on building great products, or very early on, they said to themselves, what are we rallying around? It's the concept of Simon Sinek's why. We've all heard a great deal about that over the last couple of years. It's finding something bigger than the money you're going to make or the product you're going to build, and possibly even the value you're going to have as a company. It's something that warrants the late nights and the early mornings, and you can obsess over in an unmanly and crazy way, in a natural way, something that people can jump onto so that anytime you extend a job offer, they want on board. So what are those rally points? If you look at some of the companies that we look at and we tend to emulate, you see some of these come through, right? So LinkedIn, they're known as a hacking culture. If you wanted to go build something cool, you wanted to go to LinkedIn for a very long time. And their entire motto was simplify and grow every day. And it was something that everyone could say, hey, we're just here to grow every day. I'm just going to put my head down. I'm going to figure this out. I just want to build something every single day. And at Facebook, them putting up the actual wall, them putting up and saying this was going to be a place where anyone could come and write, anyone could have a conversation with anyone else in the world, that was symbolic to the rally point they've created. Uber, it has been very fun to watch. The Seattle community manager, when she started community management in Seattle, she had no idea what she was going to do, but she knew that it was a culture she wanted to be a part of. It's an anti-culture culture is what they've created. And now their entire community management teams and everything they do with their campaigns creates that concept of disruption, again, just a bit different, on the go, moving lifestyle, anti-culture culture. It's very interesting. Airbnb's done some great stuff. Slack is a newcomer. They're outgrowing any work management system that's ever existed, which is an incredibly competitive space. And they're doing it by simply saying that they want to make work more pleasant. And it's like, well, yeah, I want to make, I'd like work to be more pleasant. Like, I'll get behind that, right? And so if you can have something that people can point to, and both it cannibalizes some people, but for the most part, everyone agrees with some sort of its essence, it's really hard to not be behind it on some varying degree. So the rally point's really important. Ooh, I'm really proud of what Porch has done with this. We have a lot of product to build. We have roadmaps behind roadmaps, as I'm sure many of you in the room do, but we take the time. We make it a very conscious effort to sit down and say, why are we doing this? Why are we asking now 425 people to do this with us? And you see it come through, right? It's the concept of loving their home. We want homeowners to love their home. We want to put professionals in a better place, and we want homeowners to love their home. And it's no more complicated than that. And you see it come through in all of our social porching it moments, everyone tweeting about us. These are all employees. You see it coming through. We handed out employees with their number of the employee number that they were, and they wear it like every day at this point. Everyone's just wearing those sweatshirts. I don't think they ever wash them. It's quite odd. You see it come through in moments of late nights where they're like, this is just where I want to be right now. And you see it all over our office. So you can't underestimate the importance of putting up actual tangible things that exude and represent that rally point. So we have these big screens everywhere. It's kind of hard to read, so I'll read it for you. But our mission is to help everyone everywhere love their homes by replacing the hassle, pain, and complexity with trust, information, and delight. And this paragraph is something we say a lot, is if we can have everyone running up the stairs every single day, because we're on the second floor, and finding a way to delight homeowners or put a pro in a better place, then we're good. And we take this as a hit. We know this is an investment. An actual, sometimes it's an ROI negative investment. So we say to our sales team, if it takes all day to talk to one pro because you just want to understand what he's up to, you want to understand his business because he's a fourth generation plumber, by all means, take all day. You just won't hear regular VPs of sales be okay with that. And we say to our account managers, does it take you all day? Are you collecting photos from people like a professional that's got projects he wants to show off, or a homeowner that really wants to tell the story of their home in a really beautiful way? All day. Take all day. Pull other people in. Grab anyone off the floor to support you. Take an engineer off if they have to come answer a question you don't know. We intentionally do this, not because it is the smartest from a revenue standpoint, but because it's best from a culture perspective. And we would rather have that happen. We'd rather actually slow down our revenue growth and increase the momentum of our brand growth and our culture growth. So those are the sorts of unscalable moments of delight that you will be asked to invest in when you want to create a natural curve. We do have a lot of this concept of business rules as well that we kind of paint around, mainly because we know that everyone is motivated by different words. That was talked a little bit about today earlier in one of the beginning sessions. And it's true. Some people are motivated by creating beautiful products. Some people are motivated by working at a place with no egos. We want to put up the words that they use to describe our culture and let them take that and champion it on our behalf. So we spend a lot of time thinking about this. It's a requirement at this point for companies that want to do something differently. We also make it measurable. Every Friday we have an Around the Porch. We put up Tiny Pulse metrics, which is our anonymous employee rating system. We put up NPS. We're only 16 months old, and we do have a Net Promoter Score that's matured and been reported on a monthly basis. We showcase it everywhere. We have cultural ambassadors every month. You can put your hat in to be the cultural ambassador. You're given a budget to use however you think would best show off our culture and mission. We don't get say in that. None of the management gets say in that. It's full reign, whatever you want to do. If it's an outing, if it's bringing something in, if it's hiring someone in to come in and speak about something different, we totally empower you to do whatever you think is best. The reason that I think this is so important is because I don't have to be in every room and say, that's not good for the homeowner, or that's not going to be good for a professional. Everyone is so empowered to literally throw down in a meeting that there's become a culture that is centered around our two biggest assets, and the assets that if we do it better than all of our competitors, we will win. And so that's pretty awesome to see. Someone who's just been at the company for 2 weeks, like stopping Matt, our CEO, in a meeting and being like, but that seems like it's going against what we're here to do. And it's like, yeah, you throw down. Like, you just like drop it in its face and walk out. We want those sorts of moments. That's really important to us. So you see it kind of all around. The truth is, your team is your first community. So we talk a lot about how much can you gain from investing in community early. I totally agree. I worked at a company called SEO Moz, was one of their first 10 employees, and grew them to an awesome place where they rebranded to Moz, and then I moved on to the next company. But they were centered around community, a million-plus community of professionals and people that loved marketing. The first community to us was actually our Mozers. It was our team. It was the first 10 of us, and then the first 50 of us, and then the first 100 of us. And so no matter how big your company is, or even if you're just a consultant, your team then is the ecosystem probably in this room. You should be thinking of it in this way. And you should be thinking about how much of your time goes to this versus just creating great products, which is important, or making sure that your clients are happy and things like that. So the second one is investing in your only statement. I'm a really big fan of this. It can be used in a number of flavors. So proprietary data is probably the most readily obvious one of this. Every single one of you in the room should have an only statement, something you can say about your business, your product, your team, your approach that no one else can say. If you don't have that and you don't know that, I highly encourage you to just like take, I guess now, Monday off, lock yourself in a really creative space, bring your choice of beverage, and just think about it. And think about what is your only statement. It needs to be defensible. It needs to be defined, and it needs to be easily congested, or easily digested and easily shared. So thinking of those sorts of things, knowing your only statement is incredibly powerful. Lego, Nordstrom, I'm from Vermont, so I always put up Vermont Teddy Bear. They've invested in this sort of thing. What do they have that no one else has? So Lego means legot, means play well. They're obsessive about the concept of them being the brand that most invests in this idea of playfulness. They spend millions of dollars a year funding events around Legos that they have nothing to do with. So they just send out millions of dollars of Legos to whoever requests it. All you have to do is be like, I'm holding a group of people over at my house, or I'm sending 100 people that are coming over for Brickfest. They have an entire community of millions of people that are getting together to build things with Legos, adults and children, and they fund it. They don't send press, they don't cover it, and there's no representative of Lego there. That's their commitment to children and adults learning to play well. That's crazy. If you're thinking of being in charge of a P&L, that's just crazy talk. That's not, you can't account for that, you can't project for that, you can't even plan for that, but they commit to it at a scale that is really unnatural. When you think about Nordstrom, we all know it, the return it for free anytime. You can't fight that. No matter how good another company comes along and they become a titan of retail, you will still come back to this. Someone near you will still say, yeah, but I can always just walk up to Nordstrom and just bring it back. It's been 8 years. They just gave me a new purse. It's like drop to the mic. Like no one can fight with that concept. In Vermont Teddy Bear, they do a guaranteed for life. Does anyone have a Vermont Teddy Bear in the audience? There we go. Of course you do. Yes, I love them. I have like 100 of them from when I was a child, but also I've bought hundreds of them because of this. At any point, you can send it to them. They have a teddy bear hospital. They actually document the taking care of the teddy bear. They have people staffed in this teddy bear hospital, and if they can't get your teddy bear better, they'll give you a new one for free. That is insane. These are the sorts of things that the best brands in the world today have to do. If there isn't something that special, if there isn't something that unscalable or that delightful, you're not going to make it. There's no more time for mediocrity. It's gone. Those moments are completely gone. There's too much noise. And so this is what the best brands are doing, and this is how they're creating the communities that are allowing them to have those unnatural curves or those sustainable curves in a really noisy ecosystem. What we do, we have data. So we have the Porch Home Report, and we spent 6 months before we launched to market of calling on phones, myself included, just calling up professionals randomly from yellow phone books and stuff and being like, we'd love to show off your work. Can I help you upload your projects to our system? Now we have 1.9 million projects, which means that we have at least one piece of data on 99% of US homes. So we're in a very competitive space. Everyone's getting funded. Everyone's got great ideas. They're being led by awesome teams. I've met them. I've met their marketing leads. They're smart people. This is going to be intense. But they can't say this. They can't say that they have data on 99% of US homes, and we can. And this is a huge advantage in market when we're in press. It's a huge advantage in market when we're thinking about recruiting top talent, when we're thinking of acquiring other tools. It's a really big deal. So something to keep in mind is your only statement. You need to have a drop the mic moment at this point in time. And it is something that, as a marketer perspective, I spend more of my time marketing this than I do anything else. I very rarely market products anymore. There's just so much available for people to learn about products. I build a great home, I work on messaging and positioning, I create a great architecture so they can understand the value of our products. I spend almost all my time marketing this. Our defensible moments, our culture, our team, our why. It's where my dollars and my brain and my team all put their time. So this third one is interesting. If you had asked me 10 years ago if I considered myself an operator, I would have said no. I was like, no, I'm a creative. What are you talking about? Journalist major, I write things, it's beautiful stories. And that was so true to my nature, to the point that I always had, at all my early companies, I always had another person that was the operator. We were like two in a box. And I trusted them to do all of the kind of, Well, operationalizing, all of the different kind of execution-oriented planning. And now I actually think this is what is most prevalent to me when I say full stack marketer. I mean that you can both go the spectrum of creative, storytelling, narrative, and then you can flip over and be an executor and an operator, and you know how to operationalize everything that's being done. So this is now a definite expectation. This is not optional either. And that's the idea of investing in your systems. So most startups in the first 12 months rarely do anything outside of Excel, Google Drive, possibly OneNote, some very lightweight things that they're exchanging ideas in. But they're documenting it usually because they're saying, we're not ready for tools yet. We don't need to do that yet. We're not at that point. It's the exact opposite now. So high growth companies invest in systems early. And not just because it makes us all more efficient, which we talked a little bit about earlier today, it's because it actually creates a culture of efficiency. So it's like compounding. People that come in are attracted to great systems, so you actually hire in more operators. Porch is insanely stacked with operators. I am the least of the operators, and my executive team all the way down to the person we hired last week to join the support team, they are efficient, they think in operational excellence, they have philosophies of how they document, share, and loop back feedback. We are stacked with operators. And in a very simple way of saying it, I actually think that the next couple of years of great companies will be decided by great executors. They have the heart, they have the product, they have the idea, but did they come to market and execute better than all of their competitors that have great products, great heart, and great ideas? Some things we do, we invest in analytics early. So it's very easy for all of us to say, I know my top metrics, I know what will directionally show me we're growing and not losing, and then you move on. I would encourage you to do the opposite. I would encourage you to go deep. The deepest that you can go with your own talents or hiring someone in to understand the analytics of your business, the faster you will be able to apply resources in the right places. So that is something that very clearly creates that unnatural curve. If you're moving faster than them and you're doing it in the right places, you will outbeat them. Rethink common procedures. If you are using any best practice that you Googled and it was like, this is how you do it, this is how you get started on this platform, or this is how you should kick off your first email comm, or this is what an about section should look like, this is a great tour, that's probably not good. Everyone else is doing it. So I encourage you to totally rethink best practices. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel, but if you want to create a natural curve, you often do. Parallel work streams, thinking about how you can do something and then also hire in or supplement your work so that something is going as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be making progress on multiple projects, but can a project see progress while you're not? So something we often do at our company is we have 1 or 2 people that are floaters. We call them Project Morning Glory. I have no idea why, but we put them in places that we know we need to do something, but we're not quite sure what we'll do with the data yet. So if we know that we need to call a bunch of professionals to get really great, thorough interviews on high-end architecture, we have them go work on that. I'm going to go work on this, and then I'll come back and figure out how to use that content. I know that content's valuable. We haven't productized it yet, but I know I'm going to need it. So it's already getting collected, and it's there by the time I circle back. So creating parallel work streams is really important. The next one, we talk a lot about encouraging people to do their job better than it's ever been done before. We hire in with this. We actually ask people in the interview, what are you best in the world at? Doesn't have to be work, but what are you best in the world at? And for the most part, everyone's like, I don't know. And then like other people are just, they kind of throw out their talent. And we think to ourselves, if we can take what they're best in the world at and find a way to use it at Porch, we're going to be better than anyone else at market. And if it is a talent that we don't know how to use, maybe it's not the best fit right now. But if we do say all the time in meetings with new hires every day, are we doing this better than it's ever been done before? Is there a better way to do this? It's a possible moment in any meeting that you can say, no matter how far along you are in development, which again is a really empowering thing to encourage. So that concept of investing in infrastructure, it could be as simple as getting things, anything you do 10 times a day or twice a day, you should think, is there a better way to do this? Just getting that time back in your day is so important. So growth is a flywheel, right? We know this idea, like if it spins back into itself with more momentum, it goes faster. And that's what I think of when I think of operational excellence around my everyday activities. So this last one is one I'm probably most passionate about. It's the one I think about the most often, which is this idea of participating fully in an ecosystem. Seems perfectly timed with what this conference is all about, right? How do you take Tampa and continue to evolve it and gain momentum here and turn it into what you guys clearly have passion to make it become. I can tell you I spent a lot of time with Boulder. I was in LA Tech for a while. I was in San Francisco Tech for a while. what you guys are talking about and the level of dialogue is higher than what I saw when they were investing in those ecosystems. So you guys already have so much of those raw assets. So how can you take that and build people around you to invest in it as well? Usually it is investing in the ecosystem that does that. So from a standpoint of our marketing and our growth at Porch, I take this back to tribal branding. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with the concept of tribal branding, but there's 6, some say 7 pillars to tribal branding. The 3 that I most actively think about is this concept of words, rituals, and icons. People follow you if you use their words, if you embrace their rituals, habits, and if you also appreciate and oftentimes kind of love their icons. So this is a way to speak to people to get them to follow you. The more people that follow you, the more growth you'll see. So at Porch, we quadruple down on this. My entire inbound team, 3 content writers right now, just added a 4th social media marketer and a videographer. The content they're writing, the things they're thinking about, when we talk to our bloggers in our blogger program, it's all about this. It's all about what are their words, what are their rituals, and what are their icons. So you see it, right? We found out pretty early that DIYers don't call a house, they call it a dwelling. We figured out that many women that have families don't call it a house, they call it a home. We don't ever call anything a house. It's just like, so thinking about the actual word choices you do. When it comes to rituals, we thought about the rituals in a home. I mean, I'm fortunate to work, this is why I came to Porch, talk about open green field, right? Like all of the beautiful things we do in a home. Like I literally get goosebumps when I think about it. But one of the most common ones is every morning you get up and oftentimes people have coffee. Some idea of coffee, a French press, an Insta coffee, coffee with a significant other, coffee with their pet. So we did social partnerships with Beanbox, social partnerships with Starbucks. How can we get into their rituals via our social partnership program? Dogs, pets, they're a huge part of your home. So we did a partnership with Rover. We are spending our time with partners that not just for cross-audience visibility so that we can get more exposure and more followers, like that's all great. I'm actually way more interested at the end of the year if I can look at the top 15 kind of rituals that someone does in their home and we've invested in them. And we've told 1 million homeowners across the US that we care if they're loving that time in their home. That's way more important to me than the follower growth in my community. When it comes to words and icons, we are also very much in the places that these homeowners read. So we spend a lot of time on press investments. We spend a lot of time syndicating our content. We'll pull together content for anyone in the home space writing about home. It doesn't have to be a great page rank or a great domain rank. We are just interested in showing that if someone cares about writing about home and lifestyle, we care about them being successful. So there's a lot of those upfront investments that I truly believe have helped us kind of accelerate our growth. And the blogger program, which is critical. We have over 300 bloggers activated in less than 3.5 months. We have a goal for 1,000 bloggers activated. In a year, I'm going to be able to call together 1,000 bloggers in Seattle, and I'm going to say, come to our blogger event. Let's just do cool home things for 3 days. And they're going to come, and it's going to be awesome. And my competitors are going to freak out, and that's okay. And like, I think that that is how I look at it. How am I building a community that when they come together, it's like the best event they ever went to? So these bloggers have communicated online together for years, and they've rarely ever been in the same room, and we're going to do that for them at our cost, right? That's the way to do it. So think about that. Think about the words and rituals and icons of your startup, of your industry, of your ecosystem, and how can you help invest in those, and then how can you rise, help the entire tide rise up. We put out a lot of data because we actually fundamentally believe there's some flaws in our ecosystem. Like, we think that it's messed up that pros can charge whatever they want and that homeowners don't know if they're getting ripped off. So we publish a lot of data on that, and we have an entire data content strategist just writing on that because we don't think that's fair. We don't think it's fair that homeowners get ripped off during the stages of development of a project because they don't know that they're going to have to hire these 12 other subcontractors. So we write about that. So think about how you can help your ecosystem be more just. That's a great way to invest in it, and that will, again, grow a community to help you grow at a faster rate. So people seek their people, and that's something we think a lot about. If I can attract people, my people, then we're all going to do better things faster together. Something to think about. So this is a great quote. It's by James Penny, the founder of JCPenney's, and he said, "Growth is never by mere chance. It's the result of forces working together." It does seem a bit full circle for the conversations I've heard today. I mean this as it relates to growing a company. I do believe this. I believe there's a lot of harmony that has to happen between community, team, and product. But I also think from an ecosystem perspective for Tampa, thinking about bringing in, we know there seems to be a funding challenge. We know that there's clearly great ideas, smart people here. There's clearly passion here, and there's really intelligent conversation happening here. How do those all work better together? How can you bring them all in the room more often? Things like this. That's how you're going to outpace other startup cities. That's how you're going to leapfrog them in the coming year and the coming 2 years. So hopefully that was helpful. I do really love talking about this. There's a lot to growth philosophy, so if anyone wants to chat with me, you can just find me on the socials, and I'd love to chat with you. So thank you. I realized I don't know what to do after I say thank you, but I think we have some time for Q&A. I think we had about 10 minutes or so. If anyone does have any questions? Yes? Great question. Are you a marketer? I like your style. He asked if we financially compensate bloggers. I'm very proud to say that we have yet to financially compensate a blogger for their engagement. I do not think that that is off the table at some point. Like, we are starting to engage with, the blogger. Like, we have a great partnership with Lowe's, and so we're very fortunate with that because it's a really authentic, cool partnership. But anyways, as we get into the Martha Stewarts and the country livings, their world is compensated. We've intentionally held off on that because I don't know what my moral philosophy is there yet. I've never done it at any company I've been at, and now it's becoming way more the norm. So I honestly, right now we don't, and I'm proud of that, and there's no plans to do it quite yet, but maybe. Yeah? How do you monetize it? I've never heard of Porch. We don't make money. Oh, did we need to make money? He goes, how do you monetize? Yep. How do we make money? Great. I know, come work here. Okay, you're all hired. I'm really excited about what we're building. So we monetize in a couple different ways. We have 3 lines of revenue right now. One line of revenue is the first business we stood up, the home improvement business, which is professionals pay us to drive them leads and grow their business. We have pro tools that they come and use, so we help them through things like a great ESP, being able to email their users, great CRMs, being able to keep in touch with their clients. So they pay for this full package of helping them grow their business. That's the #1 way. The second way is through our data. So the PHRs are free to homeowners, and they always will be. Porch home reports. The historical view of a home will always be free to homeowners. Real estate sites pay us. So we're on Realtor.com, Realgy.com. We have a partnership with Windermere, and that's we're talking to them. We're talking to them. Possibly, right? That we hope to be very pervasive in that world. We want to be all things home. You actually summed up the sentence I say when people are like, what's the big plan? We want to be the destination of everything home, and we're pretty committed to it. And then the third one is actually our mobile app, which is now only currently in Seattle. It's a booking app, so you are able to schedule, book, and plan a project via a mobile app. And that's more of a rev share situation. But great question. Yeah. We do. We did some, so in our Series A, you were able to opt in, and there was some offerings where, some unnatural offerings that our CEO offered for employees to invest and become, true shareholders. We've continued that at every round. And everyone gets stock when they come in. We do plan to do a lot there. Like, it's so interesting, because I sit up here and I'm like, these are all the things we're doing, and I think they're really cool. And then I remember and I go back and I'm like, everything's really crazy and broken because we're only 16 months old. And so this last 2 months, since January 1, has been the time that we're like, what is the next step for us to make every employee not just an employee? And so we started to think about a lot of those things, because if you look at us compared to Seattle, I don't know how many of you have been in Seattle, but it is a competitive place to hold on to great talent. Like, you got Rover, who's like handing out free puppies if you work there. Literally, you got Tune down the office, who has an entire kitchen that does gourmet food at lunch and dinner. So we're not thinking of perks in that quite way yet. We haven't thought about it. We do some things like that. We're actually thinking more down that road. How can we actually make it so that all of us, this is a life changer for everyone, is how we're looking at it. But in addition to hopefully some perks, probably not puppies. It's crazy. Other questions? Yeah. Our only statement is that we have data on 99% of United States homes. And the runner-up to that only statement, I would like to say, is 42%. So we're winning. I do believe our only statement, and I know this is a bit selfish of me, but I believe our only statement will come in the size of our community. And that's where it's why I came to Porch. It's why they recruited me and why I came there, is because I fundamentally believe we're going to have the largest home community on the web. Anything else? Yeah. Right, not like iconography, more like people. Yep, influencers, celebrities, people. It's so interesting. It's a great book out there. I mean, this book's called Tribal Branding. I'm pretty sure I'll tweet out the link after this with the hashtag for the conference. But so fascinating, because you can actually, if you're an anti-icon to a common anti-icon, that can actually be like compoundingly stronger than being associated with a liked icon. There's just like so much creative stuff to it that in this world, in this day and age, is actually quite powerful if you align yourself to the right people at the right time, or if you give an anti-icon the place to possibly defend themselves. It creates such an interesting, polarizing community conversation that's very involved. So there's a lot to it. It's a great book. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. I'm going to go to every single person's home and ask them to follow us on, no. So we have a number of things in the works. So my background is performance marketing, and in the last 7 years, it's become strictly almost this true concept of community marketing. I mean, I hate to use a phrase because it feels so weird, but it's complicated. So our strategy, the question was like, how do we plan to build this? How do we plan to do this? It is a complex plan that it would take me forever to explain, but here are the general pillars of it. So we have acquisition from a perspective of growth, which is like us using our SEO channels and our different partnerships to acquire homeowners so they get to know us. I also have all of my inbound channels, and this is where I actually see the most growth happening, which is us investing in social partnerships, social management, social outreach, influencer marketing, and blogger relations. Those all have different work streams that are in place. And then I also have my content team, and content is data content, which is incredibly powerful for acquiring new people into your audiences. Proprietary content, which is usually content that we aggregate from partners in a certain way. Community content, which is content I can share with my community because of what my community is doing, which is a flywheel. And then what we just call content marketing, which is like general information, how-to type content. So like I have all of those working, and I have all of these channels working, and it's the combination of them that is creating the high growth curve, like the fastest growing community I've ever been a part of. And it's both because we're talking in it as community size, but also percent of community activated is a percentage we talk a lot about, which is a formula that we decided to wait, which is they have to visit us at least once in a week, and when they stay, they have to have looked at least 2 articles, and then within a 30-day period, they have to have visited something outside of my advice or community hub. So everything gets pretty complicated. There's science behind this, right? And that's kind of to the point of going deep early. Most people at our stage would not talk about visits per community member, or visits per impression, or visits per social engagement. I'm talking about those daily. And when I see something starts to work, I'm like, let's mobilize around this. It's working. We're getting more people in, and those are the right people. So that's part of that investing in analytics deep early. Hopefully that answered your question. Maybe later I can talk more specifically, but it's a pretty big strategy. Yeah? It's pretty amazing. I mean, there were certain seasons that were focused on certain things. So the first 6 months was all about getting more professionals on the platform. We went after the distribution. We backed into the market, which is our #1 differentiator between us and some of the other competitors. There's a lot of people in the space: Thumbtack, Angie's List, House in a way. They all play in different flavors. So we backed in with distribution, and then we moved to data. So we invested in data partnerships. So our BD team was actually the most funded team at the company for the next 6 months, which got us visibility. So that's how we got all of our MUUs, which then enabled us to do some of the smart marketing, which is retarget to them, speak out to them, email communicate with them, and get them to invest in us more than just a one-time visit. So turning them from a transient audience to an activated audience. We just hit over 2 million a month. 2 million a month, unique visitors. And our goals are crazy. I don't know if we'll hit them. It's insane for the year. But a great deal of it comes through of some of those partnerships, because if we, for every home listing, we have a standalone page in SEO. We have a standalone page for every address out there. And those are climbing in the rankings through a lot of our growth tactics. And then we also have partnerships with the biggest companies that have address pages. So we're getting traffic, double dipping, if you will, on traffic for address searches. I'm just giving you the whole playbook. This is what we do. I think we might be at end. So honestly, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Thanks for your time.